Hello everybody and welcome to another video. This evening we are with ARG and we are back in their Tier 1 Championship. Remember, we were leading the Tier 2 Championship and we have been promoted to Tier 1. We've already got a couple of podiums, a couple of them very lucky. We've benefited from a few people going out, but this evening we have a cracking race. It is at Silverstone and we have got it all. We've got drama, lots of incidents, and we have got changeable weather conditions, which will really throw a spanner in the works. So let's see how we can get on. In terms of qualifying, it was a full qualifying. We didn't do that well in the first qualifying, but got through nice and easily. Second qualifying was basically a one-shot wonder. Before the rain came in, we actually topped that session, and then third qualifying was a complete washout and we got 5th. So we are 5th on the grid out of 18 cars as we line up ready to go racing. Let's jump straight into it as the lights get going now. 4 lights, 5 lights, and away we go for the start of this British Grand Prix. And it's not a bad start, but we get a bit of wheel spin on the latter phase and we get jumped by Jay Kelly in the Mercedes. And before we even get to the first corner, safety car has been deployed. That is awful. Not sure what's happened there, but let's jump to the end of lap 2 as safety car is now coming back in. We're going to go back racing once again. As we come into the final corner now, we're just trying to leave a gap. We want to get a nice jump on the guys behind, so we want to accelerate in anticipation, but they go through the last chicane and it's not been a terrible restart, but it's not been a great one either. We have dropped Jay Kelly just a little bit, but we have dropped Humble Hippo behind us even more, so could be a lot worse, but let's get our head down. Pace feels pretty good around this Silverstone circuit. We've got a couple of weak areas, one being the left-hander at the end of this straight we're coming on to now. But other than that, especially the fast sectors of Maggots and Beckett's and the old turn 1, we're very quick at. So we'll fast forward as we try and catch up to this lead pack. They are all battling away, and that is only going to help us get onto the back of them and take advantage if any of them get it wrong or they lose a little bit of time whilst battling. But as we catch up, you see how much time we gain through the Maggots and Beckett section. We've caught up to the back of Jay Kelly already in this Mercedes on the end of lap 3. So pace is pretty good. We're feeling very, very strong. As I said, it was a full wet qualifying in the Q3 in the end, and it was a one-shot wonder of a lap. Everyone just got one chance at it in Q2 because of the rain. So it is a little bit of a jumbled up order. We have a few very quick people behind us, so yeah, we're looking pretty good. Pace is feeling strong. As you can see, we're quite happily sat in behind these guys in the lead. They're not losing us. If anything, we feel a little bit quicker, but obviously we don't know their true pace because a lot of them aren't in clean air. They're all in a bit of a train right now. We get a couple of track limit warnings. We don't want to extend any more. It's such an easy track to get a penalty round here. As we go into the end of lap 4, onto lap 5, we overshoot our braking point a little bit on Jay Kelly, but we are right on the back of him. DRS is enabled, and now this is going to give us a good chance to try and pull up to the back of him and potentially even get past him. That is the plan. Let's see what we can do. Into the first sector now. We're looking pretty close to the back of this Mercedes. Can we make a move down this Wellington straight now? Got DRS, he's going to be wide open. We're going to use a lot of our battery. We're going to take Kelly unawares, and we go up the inside. Can we make this move? Stick on the brakes. He's holding it around the outside very nicely indeed, and he's got the better line into the following corner. So that was a nice battle. Good fair racing, but unfortunately we didn't get that move made. But we have plenty of chances left on the rest of this lap. Through the old turn 1 we go, trying to keep it absolutely flat. So easy to have a small lift and lose a lot of time through there. You don't want to lose the back end. And coming through Maggots and Beckett was so much quicker through there. Let's try and get a nice exit as we come off of it. We've got DRS once again. He has dropped DRS to the guys in front, and we absolutely sail past with that extra speed now, which is perfect. So that's us up into 5th place now. We've got a back marker he gets out of the way very nicely indeed for us. And then through onto the 6th lap of this Grand Prix, run a bit wide, but we have a second and a half gap to VZ up ahead. Unfortunately, that battle in between me and Kelly has dropped us off and out of DRS range of these guys. They're all within DRS range of each other, so let's try and race up to the back of them. We're going to use a lot of our battery if we can, because once we get up to the back of them, we can just save our battery. As another back marker gets out the way, it is like a war zone at the moment with back markers in the first few laps. But yeah, once we get up to the guys ahead in their DRS range, we can save battery with the DRS, and we can even save a bit of fuel as well. You can see through the course of this lap, we now have the gap down to 1.1, 1.2 seconds. So we're nearly within that range. We're not far off. Coming on to lap 7 now. A little bit of a glitch. We think we're under a second, but we're not quite. But it is about 1.1, 1.2 seconds. Through this first sector now, and then out onto the straight. The gap pulls out just a little bit. It's not our quickest sector, and the same with this left-hander. We aren't the quickest round here. You see the gap pulling out ever so slightly, but getting the power down, coming out of that hairpin, we're very good at indeed in this next sector of the circuit. You can see the delta now is just gone under a second, and the DRS detection point is just into this first corner, and we have got the DRS off the car in front, which is absolutely crucial for us at this stage of the race. So now we can use that to tow us along and save our battery and our fuel somewhat. So as we fast forward a little bit, we do check the weather. So this is where the race is going to get interesting, because rain is likely to hit during the course of this race, and Jeff is now telling us that rain is going to hit in about 10 or 15 minutes time. So how long do we try and stretch these soft tyres out? Do we risk it, or do we just go on a fresh set of tyres and hope the rain doesn't come too early? It's going to be one of those. There's going to be a lot of different people making a lot of different decisions, and those decisions could impact the results of this Grand Prix. But coming on to lap 8 now, we've caught right up to the back of VZ with the DRS, so this is only helping us. Our pace is super strong now at this point. We don't want to start making moves yet, because we used a lot of our battery just getting up to them. We just want to sit in behind them, but there's a couple of guys up in front that are battling away as well, and that is slowing them down and backing VZ up into us, which is quite cool. But going into the final chicane, VZ almost has a look at the inside of Serial Killer. So we're just going to see if we can sit behind and capitalise if there's any mistakes from any of these guys. We're right in behind them now. Coming on to lap 9. Into the first sector we go. Round the left-hander, and the safety car is deployed. So that is going to spice things up somewhat, because as lap 9, you can easily make the mediums last to the end of the race. Do we come into the pits or not? What's everyone else going to do? 1 does, 2 don't, but we're going to come into the pits. We are going to go on the mediums. It's not worth the risk. Actually, 2 people in front of us, come into the pits. So 3 of us out of the top 5 come in the pits. The other 2 have stayed out and decided to risk it. We're going to go on those mediums. Rain is about 10 minutes away, so I don't think we're going to get the softs to stretch that far. This could be a risk, but it puts us to the further back of the grid. There's a lot of people gone out in this Grand Prix. There's only 14 runners left, so as we come out the pits on our fresh mediums, we are in 8th place. And on to the end of lap 11, coming on to lap 12, we will go back racing once again. We get ready for the restart once again, but in behind Serial Killer now. Let's see what we can manage on the restart, but it's not a very good restart from myself at all. Once again, we have dropped quite a big gap to the car in front, but once again we've pulled about a nice gap to Kelly behind us in the Mercedes, so it's not the end of the world. But this is a big train in front of us, all fighting each other. You can see through Sector 1 the time that we are gaining on them all. They're just holding each other up. Liam gets a little bit wrong coming out onto the start-finish straight, but we're not close enough to capitalise. But you can see they're all going side by side, and this is slowing them up, bringing me into contention, and the guys behind me are now being brought into this race as well. As we come into our strongest part of the track now, you can see how much quicker we are. We actually back off a little bit just so we can get a nice run down the back straight, and let's see if we can get past this AlphaTauri. He's going to use a lot of battery in his slipstream, but he has very good straight line speed indeed, and we cannot make the move done just yet. No DRS just yet either because of the safety car, but that is a shame. So we're going to have to sit in behind the AlphaTauri for a little bit longer, but the guys behind now are getting quite close as well and getting quite racy too, so we're going to have to watch in our mirrors a little bit. We don't want to be attacked ourselves. What I do realise at this point in time is that my engine is actually getting quite hot, so we do have to run it in lean a little bit. We're running in too much traffic. You can see we're just checking the temperature on our engine. It is a bit too hot, and that's why we're struggling a little bit for straight line speed at this moment in time. Just the natural dangers of following in a train of cars, which is a bit of a shame. But as we come on to the end of lap 13 now, the AlphaTauri goes very slowly into the chicane, nearly catches us out, but we are okay, nearly running to the back of him. But let's get the power down, and we get too much power down in his dirty air, then run over the curve, go wide, and the Racing Point is going to get a run on us, but he wisely decides to back off into this first corner. We leave him room anyway, but he's going to hold it round now, the outside, into the first sector. He's going up the inside of this hairpin. We give him plenty of space, but he's still there on into the next corner once again, still giving him space. This is a very nice battle indeed, and onto the start-finish straight, and we're neck and neck, but the safety car has come out, so that saves us battling or even potentially losing that space. But what a battle through the first sector that was. But I'm going to fast forward through this safety car a little bit, because it is starting to look very overcast, and it's starting to look like it could rain at any moment in time. Do we come in? We keep checking the weather report, but Jeff is about as helpful as a piece of wood. He's terrible. Some people are going to decide to go on to the intermediates, and they could benefit from this, but it's not raining just yet. I don't think it's worth doing. See, a couple of guys up ahead are going to take the risk and go on to the inters, I think, but we're not going to. We're going to stay out because it is still dry, and I'm not sure how quick this rain is going to come in. It could be a case of quite a few laps to go yet.
Expecting.
But on lap 16 now, still under safety car, as you can see, the first few drops of rain are coming down now. It is starting to rain, and it is starting to rain very quickly indeed, and this is very difficult position to be in, because if we pit now, as safety car is going to come in at the end of this lap, if we pit now, we're going to be put to the back of the grid. But if we stay out and it gets too wet, it's going to be tough to make up that ground. We're going to lose so much time. So, in my mind at the moment, I'm going to stay out, I think. But I'm not sure. It's going to be last-minute decision. Let's see what we decide as we get to the pit lane.
Be very careful. Dries seem like the fastest tyre at the moment.
Check the weather. Jeff is about useful as a bit of wood. Like I said, a lot of people decide to pit, and it turns out 3 of us don't, as I come into the last chicane and I lock up, go wide, and I've already realised that I've made a big mistake. Only 3 people, including myself, have stayed out, and I'm the only driver on mediums. Both the guys that have stayed out are on softs, and that'll be a lot easier for them to find the grip, to keep the temperature up in their tyres. This rain has come down very quickly indeed, and this could have been a catastrophic error by myself. Just got no grip whatsoever, absolutely anywhere on the track. Really struggling to get the power down, get the car turned, get the car stopped, and this could be a big error. It's all about damage limitation now. Let's try and keep it as neat and tidy as we can. We know a few people might struggle on the inters, but as we try to change our tyres to inters, we lock up and run very wide, just a bit too distracted at that point, and we get overtaken by the Racing Point. And then coming round out of the exit of this hairpin, the guy that was in the lead has spun it and put it in the barrier, and he ends up retiring. And that brings out the safety car, which might just save us in this race. It is an absolute stroke of luck, no doubt about it. So we're going to fast forward. We're definitely coming in for intermediate tyres. It's definitely intermediate weather right now. This rain has come in extremely quickly, and we didn't anticipate it coming in quite as quick as it did. We thought we'd get a lap in, but no doubt about it now. Let's come in for inters, which is exactly what we do. So does the Racing Point in front. However, he does have 5-second penalty for an earlier incident, so he's going to be held, and we will jump him. And we do have a chance at potentially coming out in the lead of this Grand Prix with this safety car. Let's see what we can manage. We get to the end of the pit lane. It's super slippery in the narrow pit lane. Let's see if we can go out. We've got a McLaren overtakes us. Kelly is coming up behind us very, very quickly indeed. But we have just got into the first corner and the safety car line ahead of him. He tries to have a sneaky look. They're getting past us. But the position is already done. We were ahead on the safety car line, so we come out in second place in this Grand Prix. We come on to the end of lap 19 now, and we're going to restart, and the McLaren is accelerating and braking, being a little bit difficult on this restart. He's super slow, so he's making this restart very difficult indeed. Let's see what we can manage. We know our wet weather pace is pretty good indeed. As we go back racing once again, we haven't got a very good restart. Once again, we've struggled, just too tentative on the power. And now Jay Kelly in the Mercedes is all over the back of us. My tyres are a little bit too cold at this point, and I'm struggling to bring him up to temperature. He's having a look up the inside, and now we've got the inside for the next corner, but we get a little tap on the rear, but we managed to hold the position. All good, so we keep second place for the time being. But we're a little bit vulnerable, and we've dropped a second to the McLaren in front. Like I said, the intermediate tyres, I just didn't do a good enough job under safety car. They were just too cold at this point in time. Let's see. I'm just going to stay on board for the rest of this lap, see what the conditions are like, because it is raining very heavily indeed. It's not a long way off of full wet weather tyres at this point, but I think the intermediates are the tyres to be on. There's no point risking it. It will dry out, or it will start easing off the rain a little bit during this Grand Prix, but it's going to be a wet race to the end. Sorry.
So just keep your concentration.
Run a little bit wide, get on the grass, but I don't think we lose too much time to the chaps behind. And we got these positions still. No DRS, obviously being in the rain. So let's get our head down. We're feeling pretty good in the rain. We've got our inters up to temperature a little bit more. Let's see if we can start catching this McLaren. He hasn't got away from us. We've actually caught him over the rest of the lap, actually. So let's see what we can manage, if we can get up to the back of him and even make a pass on him. It's going to be very difficult indeed in these conditions. We're going to fast forward through lap 21 now, as we start trying to make some inroads on him for the lead. I can't believe we are in this position. I know we've lucked in with the safety car, or the last safety car. However, we were in a very strong position nonetheless. And now our wet weather pace hopefully will come into his own. We've got a Renault all over the back of us who's looking very quick indeed. So we try and focus on eyes in front. You see, through this sector, we are once again mighty strong. And coming out of the S-bends, we are very quick indeed. Can we use enough battery to get past the McLaren? No, I don't think we can. I think we're a little bit too far back, but we are getting ever closer, and we've also dropped the guys behind who are also battling once again through there. So this race is starting to come into us as my tyres are warming up, getting into the right operating window. My pace is getting stronger and stronger and stronger.
Green flag.
So let's pile some pressure on to the McLaren in front. We have been pretty close through the last half of this lap. And coming in to the end of the first sector, he loses the back end and runs off the track, and we go up the inside, and we take the lead of this Grand Prix off of the McLaren. And coming out of sector 1, yes, we have got that lead well and truly secure, and let's try and pull a nice gap over him. Now, let's see if we can stretch out our advantage, if possible. We're very slow through this left-hander and then right-hander, but coming out of this right-hander, we're very good at getting the power down. You can see the gap that we pull. We pull about 3/10 on the cars behind. We're very, very quick through there. And then this next sector as well, we are super quick at. So let's see what we can manage through here. We've already got the gap out to over 1 second. As we come into Maggots and Beckett's, it's now even 1.5 seconds as they are battling, and Jay Kelly gets ahead of the McLaren too. We got a second track limits warning of the race too, and we know Jay Kelly's pretty quick, so we want to see if we can keep this gap to him as long as possible. So let's get our head down, let's focus and get in the groove, see what we can manage. As we come on to the end of lap 22, onto lap 23, we've actually pulled the gap out to 1.6 seconds nearly, which is pretty good indeed. So we're going to fast forward now, and that gap only starts coming or going up further and further. It comes down briefly in the first sector, but after that, we then start pulling a big gap on him through the left hand, and not our strongest part of the track once again. But then we come into our strongest part of the track. We've got a 1.6 second lead still, and that gap now starts going up and up. And as we exit the Maggots and Beckett's complex, we now have a 2 second lead, 2.1 second lead down the back straight, which is absolutely fantastic. Through now onto lap 24, we've got a 2.3 second lead, so we've just extended this gap even further. We really have come into our own in these wet weather conditions. It's super slippery out there, but I have got myself in the zone. Fast forward once again. Again, gap comes down briefly in the first sector as it's not our strongest, but then as we get to the last half of the lap, we start pulling it out once again. Through the old turn one, not flat out anymore, as a bit of a lift and drop it down 1 gear. And as we get to the back straight, it is now 2.8 seconds. We have pulled a massive, massive gap, and just have a look at the track map on the bottom left of your screen. Everybody is in one big train. Jay Kelly has pulled a tiny gap on the train, but we have pulled a massive gap. Our pace really has come alive on these intermediate tyres now. We are super, super strong. And we are just pushing harder and harder and getting that gap out further and further. But these conditions are incredibly tough, and it will only take one mistake to lose all of the gap that we have built ourselves. Coming to the end of lap 25 now, we're going to come onto the final lap of this Grand Prix. We currently have a 3.8 second lead, 3.9 second lead across the line. Absolutely incredible, and we are well and truly in the zone and pushing as hard as we have ever pushed before. Like I said, one slip on the curb, a little bit too much power like you see coming through that first sector, and we could be facing the wrong direction or in the barrier and out of this race and coming away with no points. This is tier 1. I just want to repeat, running no assists whatsoever, and we are leading the Grand Prix. 1 lap to go. We are having tunnel vision. We want to push as hard as we can. We're in that zone. You remember Ayrton Senna in 1988 in the McLaren leading the Grand Prix, but he didn't stop there. He just pushed himself further and further. He was in that zone, and that is exactly what I feel like right now. And that is why we are pulling this gap out even further once again. However, we all know how that ended up for Senna, and let's hope that I don't manage the same thing. Let's try and keep it on the track. But our pace is absolutely phenomenal. We now have a 4.8 second lead over second place. Coming down the back straight for the final time. Into the fast right hand corner. Drop it down a few gears. Just keeping it within track limits. And into the final chicane. Can we take this race victory? I think we're going to. Get on the power nice and early. Get on short shifting so we don't lose it. And we cross the line to take victory in this Grand Prix by 5.5 seconds in the end. Wow, what a win. Super happy with that. Don't know where that came from, but my pace felt incredible in the wet. So there we have it. What a race that was. But I thoroughly enjoyed that one and cannot believe I come away with the top spot on the podium. Well done to everyone else that was racing. It wasn't easy conditions. It was very easy to make a mistake and get it wrong. But thank you very much for watching. If you could please subscribe to my channel, that'd be great. Until next time, bye bye.